Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, salutations to you, sincere brothers, teaching and truth and sincerity. Lesson will be entitled, The Meaning slash Mocking of the Crown of Thorns. Lord will, you are edified. Video was inspired by the TikTok platform AEP Fair Use.
You see in this video.
So have you ever wondered why Jesus wore a crown of thorns at his death on the cross? All right, watch this. So the Genesis story tells us that when Adam and Eve disobeyed God, a curse fell on creation, and their sin resulted in the ground being filled with thorns. So thorns became a sign of judgment, but look at this. At the cross, that judgment was literally carried on Jesus' head, which means this. At the cross, our curse became the Savior's crown. Jesus willingly took upon himself the penalty of sin on our behalf, carried the weight of sin on his sinless shoulders, broke the curse that fell on Eden, and defeated sin, death, and Satan to give us new life. I don't know what kind of brokenness you might be experiencing right now, but whatever it is, I got good news for you. Whatever the curse has ruined, Jesus Christ can restore.
Have you seen this video?
So have you ever wondered why Jesus wore a crown of thorns at his death on the cross? All right, watch this. So the Genesis story tells us that when Adam and Eve disobeyed God, a curse fell on creation, and their sin resulted in the ground being filled with thorns. So thorns became a sign of judgment, but look at this. At the cross, that judgment was literally carried on Jesus' head, which means this. At the cross, our
Because of his body. Because of his body and not the crown of thorns. And only Israelites can be saved because only Israelites receive the law, statutes, and the commandments. So let's go to Psalm 130. Slovakia. This is Psalms 147 and verse 19. He shows his word unto Jacob, Israelites, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He has not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. So only the Israelites can sin by default because only the Israelites receive the law, statutes, and the commandments. All right. Hence the curses spoken of in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. So let's go to Matthew chapter 1 and 21. And she shall bring forth a son, she referring to Mary, and you shall call his name Yahweh Shah, for he shall save his people from their sins. Right? So Matthew 15 and 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Yahushua speaking. So it only makes sense that the Gentiles that can receive salvation are Israelites. Matthew 10 and 6. But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, Yahushua speaking, instructing the disciples on what to do. All right, now let's go into Matthew 27 and verse 11, NOT. Now Yahushua was standing before Pilate, the Roman governor. Are you the king of the Jews? The governor asked him. Yahushua replied, you have said it. But when the leading priests and the elders made their accusations against him, Yahushua remained silent. Don't you hear all these charges they are bringing against you? Pilate demanded. But Yahushua made no response to any of the charges. Much to the governor's surprise, he remained silent. Now, it was the governor's custom each year during the Passover celebration to release one prisoner to the crowd, anyone they wanted. This year, there was a notorious prisoner, a man named Barabbas. As the crowds gathered before Pilate's house that morning, he asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Yahushua, who is called the Mashiach?" He knew very well that the religious leaders had arrested Yahushua out of envy. Just then, as Pilate was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent him this message: "Leave that innocent man alone. I suffered through a terrible nightmare about him last night." Meanwhile, the priests and elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas to be released and for Yahushua to be put to death. So the governor asked again, "Which of these two do you want me to release to you?" The crowd shouted back, "Barabbas." Pilate responded, "Then what should I do with Yahushua, who is called the Messiah or Mashiach?" Okay, he's called the anointed Hebrew Mashiach. They shouted back, "Crucify him." "Why?" Pilate demanded. "What crime has he committed?" But the mob roared even louder, "Crucify him." Pilate saw that he wasn't getting anywhere and that a riot was developing, so he sent for a bowl of water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of this man's blood. The responsibility is yours." And all the people yelled back, "We will take responsibility for his death, we and our children." And that's the reason why you see Jake in these impoverished neighborhoods getting gunned down, drug infested neighborhoods. Going back to this curse, which is also spoken of in Jeremiah, the 17th chapter. So Pilate released Barabbas to them. He ordered Yahushua flogged with a lead tip whip or a lead tipped whip, then turned him over to the Roman soldiers to be crucified. So let me read this in the KJV. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Yahushua, he delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Yahushua into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe, and when they had planted a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and a reed, which is a plant, in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." So this platted crown of thorns that was placed on his head, this reed in his right hand, a plant, and the reason why they bowed down, as well as stripping him down, placing a scarlet robe on his body because they was mocking him. All right. According to Chat GPT, the crown of thorns has both literal and symbolic meanings. The crown of thorns refers to a woven crown made of thorn branches that was placed on Yahushua's Mashiach's head during his crucifixion. Biblical context. According to the New Testament, Roman soldiers placed the crown on Yahushua's head to mock him as King of Jews before the crucifixion. Physical symbolism. It caused pain and bleeding, adding to torture and humiliation. So the reason why this plaited crown of thorns was placed on Yahushua's head, because they was mocking him. Okay? Let's go to Matthew 22. Salakia. All right, so let's start at verse 25. Matthew 26 and 25. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said to him, You have said. Verse 26. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body. Verse 27. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, Drink you all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. Israelites only. Okay, so his body was the offering for the nation of Israel, so we could be reconciled back to Yahweh. Okay, and the crown of thorns was nothing but a humiliation, mocking of Yahushua, period, which also was torture. Okay, so the body was the offering. Verse 28, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for Israelites for the remission of sins. So with that being said, let's go to Hebrews 10 and 10. In the NLT, for the Most High's will was for us to be made holy by the sacrifice of the body of Yahushua once for all time. Okay, us is referring to us Israelites only, starting with the 144,000. Okay, under the old covenants, the priest stands and ministers before the altar day after day, offering the same sacrifices again and again, which can never take away sins. But our high priest offered himself to the Most High as a single sacrifice for sins, good for all time. Then he sat down in the place of honor at the Most High's right hand in the spiritual realm. So Yahushua is sitting next to Yahweh on Yahweh's right side, or at his right hand. Okay, and this is also called what? The Holy of Holies. First Peter 1 and 19. But with the precious blood of Mashiach, as a lamb without blemish and without spot. Okay? But with the precious blood, which gave us what? Reconciliation back to Yahweh. As of a lamb without blemish and without spot. So Yahushua was that precious lamb. Okay? And it states that he was without blemish and without spot. Meaning what? He never sinned as himself. So let's go to Genesis chapter 3. And verse 17. And to Adam he said, Yahweh said, via a prophet, or a prophet, since you listened to your wife and ate from the tree whose fruit I commanded you not to eat, the ground is cursed because of you. All your life you will struggle to scratch a living from it. It will grow thorns and thistles for you. Okay, and let me jump to the KJV. And you shall eat the herb of the field. Okay, and also eating the herb of the field, meaning what? We would be sick because of this sin. Now, it will grow thorns and thistles for you. And if you know anything about thorns and thistles, it protects plants from animals. Okay, so it's a curse. All right. Now, in the kingdom of heaven, we're not going to have that. By the sweat of your brow will you have food to eat until you return to the ground from which you were made, for you were made from dust, and to dust you will return, meaning we would have to work for it. See, in the ancient time, or during this time frame, all we had to do was just go outside and get it, okay, effortlessly. But now we have to work for it, going back into this curse. And again, the thorns came up because of sin. However, Yahushua was that offering. He was our offering, okay? That lamb without blemish, okay? That body, okay, which was acceptable to Yahweh. And now we are reconciled back to Yahweh through Yahweh Shai. That's how it works. Okay, starting with the elect of Israel, beginning with the 144,000, and because of it was scripted in the spiritual realm, all of Israel will be saved. Lord will, this was edifying. Shalom.